Hello everybody. So the news coming out of Cricket Australia and out of India yesterday or last night was that so David Warner and Josh Hazlewood have been sent home for injury. We knew that already. They've also decided to send Ashton Agar home. Now he's not injured, he's just playing so badly that they asked to release him from the squad, and they were allowed to. I believe that needs to have permission from India. India must have granted it, so he's not injured, he's just been sent home. Now, there's been no replacement named for David Warner or Josh Hazlewood, but there has been for Ashton Agar in a sense, and that is that Mitchell Swepson has been sent back into the squad. So he was originally in the squad, and then he had to go home for personal reasons. So that hasn't been revealed what they were. Could be a member of the fair. Oh no, that's right, he was actually, sorry. It was revealed that his first child was being born, daughter possibly. And so he came home to Australia to look at his newborn baby being born, and then he's come back. So he was sort of replaced by Matthew Kuhnemann. So now he's replacing Ashton Agar. So in a roundabout way, we basically kicked Ashton Agar out of the squad and put Matthew Kuhnemann in. And I think realistically, Kuhnemann should have been there in the first place. And you look at the record. So Kuhnemann and Agar are both left-arm spin bowlers. Kuhnemann has a record about 35 average with ball. Agar, I believe, is about 52. 35 versus 52, there's a pretty big gap. Kuhnemann's not a first choice spinner for his state because he's behind Mitchell Swepson. Even though Mitchell Swepson is leg spin, while Kuhnemann is left arm off spin. Top spinner, they might say. And so apparently similar kind of bowling to Nathan Lyon, but left-hand version. So left-hand version of Nathan Lyon versus, well, what does Ashton Agar do? Doesn't really spin it very much. Just pretty much just slow bowling, which can work in some parts of the world. In New Zealand they have a lot of slow bowlers that don't spin. And sometimes in Sri Lanka that can work. Can that work in India? Well, I don't think so. It needs to spin a bit. Anyway, look, it's the other thing is Ashton Agar does bat a little bit. I wouldn't call him a batsman or even a real all-rounder. He averages about 23, which is probably below Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc, or maybe just above. It's about the same. And neither of them are considered to be all-rounders, so calling him an all-rounder is a bit of a lie. He's more of neither. And yet Ashton Agar does regularly play for Western Australia. That's his home state. So somehow or other that seems to work sometimes in ODIs and T20s, and he is going to go back to India for the shorter formats. But yeah, so Mitchell Swepson's come back in. So effectively we've sort of permanently replaced Ashton Agar with Matthew Kuhnemann. Now I actually thought that Kuhnemann's debut was not quite test standard. I'm not saying he was bad, but for me he didn't really feel like he was test standard. Yes, he still took a couple of wickets, but if you look at the wickets that he took, the first one was Virat Kohli. Yeah, he got Virat Kohli out, but that was the one where he kind of hit it or didn't, and it sort of hit the pad and the bat at the same time, and the umpire ruled that it didn't hit the bat, and Indians were pretty angry about that. It was going on to hit the stumps if it didn't hit the bat, but it kind of did hit the bat. And anyway, it's one of the problems with DRS that they do umpire's call. So if the umpire gives it out and they're wrong, it stays out unless it's really badly wrong. And equally, if the umpire gives it not out and it was out, but it still stays not out unless it was really badly wrong. And this was one of these cases where it was given out, probably should have been given not out. The benefit of the doubt should go to the batsman, not the umpires. So I completely agree with Indians that he should have been given not out when you consider that there was quite a bit of doubt. And the problem is consistency. You can't just say, oh well, Virat Kohli was wrong, so we give him not out, but then there were these other ones, Australians and other Indians as well, that were stuffed around by the rules of DRS. And there was bad umpiring all around, I've got to say. DRS reversed a lot of decisions both ways. I don't think it was biased umpiring, but it was very bad umpiring. And thankfully we had DRS to save us. But anyway, so other than Virat Kohli, again a dubious call, probably the wrong call. His only wickets were really tail enders, and he didn't take very many of them. And he was severely overbowled, so that's unfair on Kuhnemann, because when you're overbowled like that, you're not going to do as well as if you were bowled properly. Now Todd Murphy was underbowled, and I think it should have been Todd Murphy doing the bulk of the bowling, especially considering he took 7 wickets in his first match and he still looked good in his second. It was just underbowled as Australia said, alright Kuhnemann, you're the first up bowler, you can do as well as Todd Murphy did in his first match. And that's not fair on Kuhnemann. So, yeah, perhaps it's a bit early to say Kuhnemann's not test level, but he wasn't test level on debut. He was a little bit below the standard that we would expect for test level. So for me, Kuhnemann doesn't play in the third test. Does Mitchell Swepson? And that's the question. If you want that variety, again you're going to have to drop one of Nathan Lyon or Todd Murphy. And I mean, I'm already dropping Matthew Kuhnemann. Do you want that variety? Well, Mitchell Swepson, he did do quite well for Australia in T20 and in ODIs. His first class record isn't too bad, but his test level, and he has played tests, was pretty bad. So do we think, oh right, he's going to do well in India? When he's only had a couple of tests, so he might. Do we need that leg spin bowling when Todd Murphy's been bowling that well? So I think the simple answer is probably not. And I think I'm not saying Mitchell Swepson is definitely not test level, but perhaps not quite now. And I think that's the thing, like right now I'd say Todd Murphy is test level. And I'd say that Matthew Kuhnemann and probably also Mitchell Swepson are not quite test level. And then you have Ashton Agar, who's nowhere near test level. So, I mean, Ashton Agar has been test level in the past, but he's not usually test level. So that's the thing, and so I'm thinking that we'll probably have Nathan Lyon and maybe Todd Murphy play the third test, depending on how many fast bowlers we want to go in. Now apparently Cameron Green and Mitchell Starc are both coming back. I'm expecting them both to play. I think Pat Cummins will play, and well, they're probably your 3 fast bowlers. And given that, I don't think we need to go with 4, so we will be able to cope with 2 spin bowlers without damaging our fast bowling stakes. So that's the thing, like in the second test, had we played Green, 3 spin bowlers would have made a bit of sense, but without Green, it was too many. So I think we'll probably do the 3 fast, 2 spin in indoor, which is for the third test. So David Warner hasn't had any replacements, nor has Josh Hazlewood. I expect that we'll have Travis Head opening, so as sort of the half the replacement of Warner, if you like. Peter Handscomb will bat at 5, so that's the other half. So Peter Handscomb's coming in, well, compared to our best 11, Peter Handscomb's coming into the side to replace David Warner, with Travis Head moving down or moving up from number 5 up to open. And that's just what. And Todd Murphy is effectively replacing Josh Hazlewood. Now I don't think that's the long-term thing, and there is the possibility of playing Scott Boland instead of Todd Murphy. And if Todd Murphy is injured, I think that might be a good move. And if you look at how well Scott Boland did compared to how well Todd Murphy did, I think that Scott Boland certainly had a good start to his test career. He didn't take any wickets in the first test when he played. But Indians were scared of him. He bowled really well. I don't remember him having any missed chances or anything, but look, I think India would suit him. If we did decide to go in with Scott Boland, it would be perfectly reasonable. Problem is then we'd be having 4 fast bowlers, and that might be a bit too much. So it would really depend on the fitness of Todd Murphy. If Todd Murphy is fit enough to play, and to play as well as he did in the first test, I think that we'll pick him. But if not, then I think it'll be Scott Boland. And I know it should be a matter of is the pitch spinning or taking pace, but I don't think that'll be the question. I think the question will be who's the best bowler. Scott Boland is in great form, he's in great fitness, he's fine. He doesn't break down at all. He just comes in when you want him to come in, which is a really great trait. Todd Murphy's apparently carrying a little bit of an injury, so I think there's a very good chance that Murphy will sit out and we will have Scott Boland. And from what I've seen of the other two tests that were played at indoor. So this will be indoor's third test. They've hosted. Pace and spin both seem to do well at indoor. And most importantly, India does well at indoor. India doesn't lose at indoor. They don't get close to losing. So it really doesn't matter who we pick. It's more a matter of, you know, who we want to sort of give experience to. We're going to lose no matter what we do. Do we want to go with our best team? Or do we want to give Mitchell Swepson a bit of a go? Maybe even play all four spinners just for a bit of fun. We could play all four spinners, leave Pat Cummins out and just have Cameron Green as the sole bowler coming back from injury. Sole pace bowler, I should say. I think that's too much of a risk. Could we go with 3 spin bowlers and then Pat Cummins with Cameron Green? Yeah, we could. If we think that Mitchell Stark's not fit. Could we even leave Cameron Green out and give Mitchell Stark and Pat Cummins a bowl and go in with just 5 batsmen? We could. And look, in many ways it doesn't matter because we're going to lose anyway. How desperately do we want to try out these spin bowling combinations? Or do we want to get our best team on the field? I think we'd rather get our best team on the field. So for me it's a toss up between Boland and Murphy. And it really depends on if Murphy's fit. If Murphy's not completely fit, we're playing Boland for me. Anyway, that's it from me. Bye bye now.